This episode is brought to you by Amazon Business. How can you free up your team from time-consuming office tasks? Amazon Business empowers leaders to not only streamline purchasing, but better support their teams so they can focus on strategy and growth. Free up your teams and focus on your future. Learn more about the technology, insights, and support available at amazonbusiness.com.
Put us in a box. Go ahead. That just gives us something to break out of. Because the next generation 2025 GMC Terrain Elevation is raising the standard of what comes standard. As far as expectations go, why meet them when you can shatter them? What we choose to challenge, we challenge completely. We are professional grade. Visit gmc.com to learn more.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Deep Dive. We're diving into how to stand out in your job search today. And we're focusing on all you experienced pros out there. So that's the 30 and over group with that college degree ready to take the next step.
We've got advice that goes way beyond the usual stuff. We're going to help you figure out what really matters to employers these days.
Now, the first thing you need to do might sound a little counterintuitive. Before you even update that resume, you've got to figure out what you want in a job.
It's kind of like trying to build a house without blueprints. Most people just skip this part and jump right into applications.
Yeah, I could see how that could be a problem.
Big time. They end up feeling lost and frustrated and often settle for a job that's just not the right fit.
So they're almost setting themselves up for failure right from the start.
Exactly. I've worked with some really successful people, impressive resumes and years of experience, but they were struggling. And all because they hadn't stopped to think about what they actually wanted in their career.
Okay, so self-awareness is key. But how do you make sure you're not just, getting caught up in the hype, like a company's reputation or a fancy job title?
That's where targeted questioning comes in. You really have to dig deep, uncover those potential issues. It's easy to just focus on the limited information available.
Like we're only seeing a small part of the picture.
There's a name for that, the spotlight effect. And we all do it.
So how do we fight against that spotlight effect during a job search?
By asking the right questions. Don't be afraid to go into that interview with like 50 or more questions. This shows you're serious.
It shows you're prepared.
Yeah, really engaged. I suggest finding a good resource, like a book or something, with lots of targeted questions to help guide you.
I like that. It's like your secret weapon.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got self-awareness. We've got our list of questions ready. What's next?
Now it's time to market yourself, that resume. It isn't just a list of every job you've ever had.
Right. It's more than that.
It's about showcasing how your unique skills can help the employer reach their goals.
So it's less about what you did and more about what you can do for them.
Exactly. Employers are looking for solutions. Think of it this way. They're buying transformation, not features.
That's a really interesting way to put it. But how do you show that transformation on a resume instead of just listing features?
By figuring out what the employer needs and then framing your experience so that it addresses those needs. Like, what are the biggest challenges this company is facing? And how can your skills help them overcome those challenges and reach their goals?
Makes sense. So we've got our resume speaking their language, but then there's the problem of actually getting that resume seen by the right people. I mean, submitting applications online can feel like
a black hole.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like you're just sending your resume off into the void.
I call it the applicant trashing system. It's disheartening. Makes you feel like a cog in a machine.
So how do we escape that system and make sure our application is actually seen by the right people?
Target specific individuals at the companies you want to work for. The hiring managers, the team leaders, the people who have the power to hire.
So we're bypassing the system and going straight to the source.
You got it. This is a much more proactive approach. It's about building relationships and proving your worth directly to the decision makers.
Okay, so that's got to involve some networking.
It does, but not the kind where you're just spamming your entire LinkedIn network with generic messages.
We've all been there, done that.
That's right. This is about strategy. Create a network map. Figure out who in your network can connect you to your dream company. And when you reach out to your contacts, be specific.
So no more, hey, I need a job, help messages.
Exactly. Tell them your goals. Tell them how they can help. The more specific you are, the more likely they'll be able to make a useful introduction.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot here already. Self-awareness, asking the right questions, marketing yourself, bypassing the system, and networking with a purpose. But what happens when you land that interview? How do you make sure you stand out then?
That's where it gets really interesting. Think about it like this. Most people go into an interview playing defense, just trying to answer the questions correctly.
Right.
We want you to go on offense. Think about what information the interviewer needs. What problems are they trying to solve? How can you show them you're the one to solve those problems?
So show them how your skills have led to real results, not just talk about the skills themselves.
Exactly. And the best way to do that is through storytelling. But you got to be strategic about what stories you tell.
Like those stories where you went above and beyond or solved a tricky problem.
Right. It's about connecting the dots for the interviewer.
I see. So we're not just listing our skills on our resume, we're bringing those skills to life through stories.
Exactly. And don't forget about the Sarah technique. Context, activities, result. That's your framework for crafting a compelling story that showcases your impact.
So we're painting a picture for the interviewer, helping them see us in action and understand the value we bring.
You got it. And don't overload them with information.
Keep them wanting more.
Right. Now, after the interview, a lot of people make a big mistake.
They forget to send a thank you note.
It seems like such a small thing, but it's crucial, reinforces your interests and qualifications, shows that you're genuinely interested in the position, and that you took the time to think about the conversation.
Okay, so what makes a thank you note really effective?
Keep it short and to the point. Professional. Focused on what the employer needs, you can thank them for their time, restate your qualifications, and really emphasize your interest in the job.
So it's a chance to leave a strong, lasting impression.
Exactly. A small thing that can make a big difference.
Okay, so we've covered self-awareness, targeted questions, marketing yourself, bypassing the system, networking strategically, the art of storytelling in interviews, and the importance of thank you notes. Phew, we've covered a lot of ground already. What about negotiating? That can be a tough one for a lot of people.
Yeah, negotiation can feel really awkward, especially if you're not used to it. People worry about looking greedy or risking the job offer. But the truth is, negotiation is completely normal. It's not about being demanding. It's about knowing your worth and advocating for yourself. And you know what? In my experience, 99% of the time, you should negotiate.
Wow, 99%. That's a bold statement. Tell me more about why negotiation is so important in almost every situation.
Well, it shows the employer you're confident, that you know what you bring to the table. Of course, there might be a rare exception where it's not appropriate, but most of the time, you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't at least try.
So don't leave money on the table. Be ready to make your case, but always be respectful and collaborative during the process.
Exactly. It's a conversation, not a battle.
All right, we've covered a lot in this first part of our deep dive. We talked about everything from self-awareness and asking targeted questions to interview prep and even negotiation. What are some of the key takeaways you want our listeners to remember?
It's all about being strategic, proactive throughout your entire job search. Don't just sit back and apply to jobs. Take control.
And remember, it's not about luck. It's about taking action.
You got it.
Great. We'll be back soon with part 2, where we'll dive even deeper into actionable strategies to help you land that dream job. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're picking up right where we left off, talking about how to really stand out in your job search.
Yeah, it can be tough out there, especially when you're up against so many other qualified people.
You're definitely right about that. Preparation is key. But it's not just about, researching the company and the position.
Right. It's also about really understanding what you bring to the table.
Being able to explain it well so the hiring manager gets it.
Exactly. You can't just list skills on a resume or talk about past experience in some vague way.
So you need to help them connect the dots.
Yep. Show them how your skills and experience can help them solve their problems. Because at the end of the day, that's what they're looking for.
Someone who can make a difference.
Exactly. Now think about this. Most people go into an interview playing defense.
Oh, I know what you mean. Trying to guess what the interviewer will ask and giving the right answers.
Right. But we want you to be on offense. Don't just answer their questions. Think about the information they need to make a hiring decision. Like, what problems are they trying to solve?
And how can you show them that you can solve those problems?
You got it. And the best way to do that? Storytelling. But not just any stories.
So those aha moments where you went above and beyond or figured out a solution to a tough problem.
Right. It's those stories where you made a real impact. And think about the skills you used in those situations and how they connect to the job you're applying for. Practice telling those stories out loud.
So they're clear and engaging.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to use those little details that really bring the story to life, because ultimately you want to paint a picture, help them see you in that role, and understand the value you would bring to their team.
So we're not just listing our skills, we're bringing those skills to life through stories. That makes a lot of sense.
You know, there's one thing people often forget to do after an interview, and it's a big mistake.
Oh, you mean the thank you note?
Yeah, it seems so small, but it's so important. Reinforces your interest, reiterates your qualifications. It shows you're serious, and it shows that you took the time to think about the conversation.
So how do you write a really effective thank you note? Should I be super detailed?
No, actually keep it brief, professional. Focus on the employer's needs. Thank them for their time. Restate your key qualifications, and really emphasize that you're still interested. You can even use the thank you note to address any concerns that came up during the interview.
Oh, that's a good idea. Like if they had a question about something and you didn't have all the information.
Exactly, or if you want to share some extra information. But the most important thing is to keep it short and relevant.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's switch gears a bit and talk about negotiation. For a lot of people, that's the scariest part.
I get it. It can be awkward, especially if you're not used to it. People are afraid to seem greedy or risk the offer.
Definitely.
But remember, negotiation is normal. It's not about being pushy. It's about knowing what you deserve and advocating for yourself. And from my experience, I can tell you this: 99% of the time, you should negotiate.
99%. That's incredible.
It's about knowing your worth. So do your research. Know what you're worth in the market. Understand how the company handles compensation. And be ready to explain why you're asking for what you're asking for. It's really a conversation, not a fight.
Right. We're trying to find a solution that works for everyone.
Exactly. Now, remember earlier when we talked about the applicant trashing system? Those online job boards that can feel like a black hole?
Ugh. Yes.
Yeah.
You spend hours on your resume and cover letter and it just disappears.
It's incredibly frustrating. So how do you avoid getting lost in that system? Well, remember the boss hunting strategy?
Oh, yeah. Go straight to the hiring manager.
Exactly. That's one way to get around it. Another is to network strategically. Find people in your network who can connect you with the right people at those companies you want to work for.
So networking is really all about using your connections to your advantage.
And that's where a network map can help. It's a way to visualize your network and see who can help you reach your goals. And don't be afraid to reach out to people you haven't spoken to in a while.
That's true. You never know who might be able to help.
It's all about those connections. Now, let's talk about something that can be a real challenge for people with more experience: ageism in the workplace.
It's definitely a sensitive subject, but an important one to talk about.
Absolutely. It's a real issue. And it can be tough to overcome, but there are things you can do.
Like what? How do you fight against that?
Focus on what you bring to the table, all that experience and those skills you have, your maturity. Show off what you've accomplished and highlight your ability to learn and adapt. You can even acknowledge your age directly, but frame it as a strength.
So instead of trying to hide your age, you own it.
Exactly. You know, I've been in the workforce for 20 years, so I've seen a lot of changes. But I've always been able to adapt and learn new things. It's all about turning that potential negative into a positive.
I like that. Makes a lot of sense. Now, what about career transitions? A lot of experienced professionals want to make a change, but it can feel daunting.
I understand it's like starting from scratch, but it is possible, and it can be really rewarding.
So where do you even start?
Start by figuring out your transferable skills, the things you've learned in your past roles that can be used in a different field, and network. Talk to people in that industry.
So go into events and things like that.
Yeah, and informational interviews. The more you learn, the better prepared you'll be.
It's like anything else, the more you know, the better.
Exactly. And be realistic. You might have to start at a lower level than you're used to.
That's okay. It's a chance to start fresh and build your credibility in that new field.
That's the right attitude. You know what else can make a big difference in your job search? Personal branding.
Personal branding, what's that exactly?
It's about creating a clear, consistent message about you. Who you are, what you do, what you stand for. It's your professional reputation.
Makes sense.
And nowadays, your online presence is super important. So create a professional website, a good LinkedIn profile, share content that shows what you know.
Kind of like becoming a thought leader in your industry.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And network online. Join those industry groups and participate in discussions. The more visible you are, the more likely you are to be found by the right people. All right, let's wrap up this section with something that's essential for success in your job search: mindset.
So, like staying positive.
Yeah. Believing in yourself, being persistent, don't give up. Job searching can be discouraging, especially when you're facing rejection.
That's for sure.
But remember, this is your career, and you have the power to make it what you want.
I like that a lot. Okay, so in this part, we've covered power stories and thank you notes, negotiation, ageism, and career transitions. Wow, it's a lot to take in.
It is. But the main takeaway here is this. Job searching is a process. It takes time. It takes effort. And it takes strategy. But if you have the right attitude and the right tools, you can definitely get that dream job.
And stay tuned for part 3 of our deep dive, where we'll cover even more tips and strategies for rocking your job search in 2025. Welcome back to the deep dive. We're wrapping up our job search deep dive today, and we've saved some of the best stuff for last.
We've talked about a lot of great strategies already, but now we're going to get even more specific. How to fine-tune your approach for different industries and how to stay motivated when things get tough.
Because let's be real, job searching can be a real roller coaster.
It really can. It's not enough to just have a perfect resume and ace those interviews. You need the right mindset. You got to be resilient to handle all the ups and downs.
Okay, so let's talk about those different industries. What works in tech might not work in healthcare or finance, right?
Yeah, you're right. Every industry has its own culture, its own way of doing things. You got to speak their language, show them you understand their world.
So how do you do that?
Research. Talk to people who work in that industry. Read their publications. Go to their events. Really immerse yourself. Pay attention to the trends, the challenges, even the words they use.
So basically do your homework.
Exactly. Don't just scratch the surface. Like, let's say you're switching from a corporate job to a startup. You need to show them you can handle that fast-paced, entrepreneurial environment. Things change quickly.
You got to be flexible and willing to do a bit of everything.
Right. And when you're in those interviews, be ready to talk about why you're passionate about the company's mission. Show them you understand the startup world, that you're not just looking for any job. You want to make a real difference.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now let's talk about staying motivated. It can be so draining, especially when you're facing rejection or it feels like you're not getting anywhere. Any tips on how to stay positive and focused?
Remember your why. Why are you looking for a new job? What are your goals? What gets you excited?
So connect back to the bigger picture, your purpose.
Exactly. When you know why you're doing this, it's easier to push through those tough times.
And I'm guessing it's important to set realistic expectations too.
Oh, yeah. Don't expect to land your dream job right away. Break down your job search into smaller steps. And celebrate those little wins along the way.
That's a good point. It's easy to get overwhelmed if you're only focused on the end goal.
Right. And take breaks when you need them. Burnout is real, and it can really sabotage your job search.
It's like a marathon. Got to pace yourself, take care of yourself too.
Exactly. Get enough sleep, eat healthy, exercise. It might not seem directly related, but when you take care of your body, your mind is sharper too. You'll be more resilient.
So it's about more than just resumes and applications. It's about taking a holistic approach to your job search.
I like that. Holistic. And don't forget your support system. Talk to your friends, your family, a career coach. Surround yourself with people who believe in you, people who can give you a boost when you need it.
Yeah, sometimes you just need someone to talk to. Now, I want to touch on something that's becoming more and more important, continuous learning.
Super important. The job market is constantly changing. If you want to stay ahead, you have to keep learning.
So how do we make sure we don't fall behind?
Invest in yourself. Take online courses, go to workshops, read books and articles about your field. This is how you learn new skills and stay up to date. And it shows employers that you're serious about growing and developing.
With a win-win. Okay, as we wrap up this job search deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
Job searching is not about luck. It's about strategy, preparation, and having a proactive attitude. Follow these tips, and you'll be able to navigate the job market with confidence. You can land that dream job.
And remember, the most important thing is to believe in yourself. Never give up on your goals. Thanks for joining us for the deep dive. We hope you learned a lot and feel ready to tackle your job search. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep diving deep.